I've sculpted a lot of Pokemon. Some of these ended up being cool, some ended up being cute, and others ended up being weird. But this time I wanted to sculpt something creepy, something gross, something brutal that'll make you pee your pants. And I figured that a realistic Zombie Gengar eating a Clefable that's still alive was the best option. And as with many of the sculptures I've made for the channel, the first step is to wrap some aluminum foil with clay. Now I'll turn this into Gengar, which isn't that hard to do. Well, it kinda is. Well, not really. I mean, the Gengar part of the sculpture is easy, but the realistic and zombie parts are not. Gengar is a pretty simple Pokemon design-wise. It's just a ball with limbs, a big mouth with those weird human-looking teeth, and those eyes with that malicious expression. But see, we've barely started and I'm done sculpting Gengar's body, but as I said, making it look realistic won't be that easy. I mean, it kinda is. When I'm trying to make something look realistic, I usually go for the wrinkle and skin texture technique, which consists of placing a bunch of wrinkles here and there and then adding skin texture on top. Of these two, the wrinkles were easy to place, but the skin texture was not. I mean, it kinda was. I just had to poke it here and there with this little tool. It's easy, but it takes a while. Now for the zombie part of the sculpt, I'll just give it some scratches here and there and expose the bone here, and yeah, that's it. This Gengar hasn't been a zombie for too long. For Clefable, I'll start by sculpting an egg, then I'll cut it in half, then I'll hollow it out just a bit to make some space for his organs being brutally ripped apart. Then I'll add all the Clefable stuff like these things and those things and that thing, and his arms and his face looking horrified. For his guts I'll use air dry porcelain clay, but for that I need this thing to be completely cured. So for now let's move on to the base, which I'm gonna make by turning this thing that looks like a base into a thing that looks like a more detailed base. Then I'll put our main guys on top. And at this point is where I realized that I may have gone too far in a few places. This is maybe a bit too disturbing. I think that Clefable's suffering is a bit too much, but I didn't want to resculpt the whole face, so I tried to give him a little smile. I'm not saying that I did, I'm saying that I tried. And I also modified this hand so it looks like he's giving a thumbs up because he's having a great time, I guess. I mean, we can pretend that he actually wanted to be eaten, like that German dude. And after a quick visit to the oven, this thing is ready to be painted. I'll start with the base, but looking at me painting the base is boring, so let's move on to Clefable. Clefable is pink, a very light pink, except for those things, those are a pinkier pink. Then I'll paint his mouth, his eyes, his ears or horns or whatever, and his exposed flesh because he's being ripped apart and he's dying right now. He is in a lot of pain and you can't do anything about it, but don't worry, remember he is into this shit because he's a sick bastard. For Gengar I'll use paint. Yeah, there's not a lot I can say in this part, it's just me painting Gengar. So yeah. And there he is. Then I'll glue him onto the base, and finally the moment we've all been waiting for. It's time to sculpt the guts. For this I'm gonna be using a light pink air dry porcelain clay mixed with red velvet flocking powder. This is a secret sculptural jutsu that gives the clay this kind of fleshy look. You can also mix it with different paints to get a wider variety of fleshy colors. And here I'm not sure about what I'm doing, I'm just randomly placing some blobs of clay, hoping that they look like intestines and stuff like that. This thing reminded me of the first time I saw something being eviscerated. I was like 7 years old and I was at my grandma's farm. She had just killed a chicken for the lunch that day. You know, sometimes when you want to eat, you have to kill. I didn't saw how she killed it, but I saw how she took out all the insides. I wasn't scared or grossed out, I was just curious, kinda fascinated just seeing all the colors. At that age I assumed that everything inside was red, but no, some organs were yellowish, some were reddish, some brownish, one was green. Imagine that, one was f***ing green. I think it was the gallbladder or something. Anyways, at this point I just needed to apply some resin over the guts and Gengar's eyes, and yeah, I know this is a pretty ugly thing to look at. I guess I'll apologize by showing you something nicer. Here, that's my cat, look at him, he's cute, he's also full of guts. And that's it, and I hope you liked it. If you didn't, well, I'm sorry that you're a weak little baby. As always, leave a comment, subscribe. By the way, I now have a Patreon, so yeah, give me your money. Okay, bye.